Gary, try not to talk and get him in trouble during the meeting.
Yeah, we are in the taste of
Good evening. I appreciate everybody joining us on this nice, warm day. We will call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. We'll have a moment of silence. And I would like, Dr. Reynolds, if you would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand for the moment of silence.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And I would like to take a brief moment to welcome Dr. Reynolds, new Deputy Superintendent, as well as Mr. Sean Duguid as our Chief Safety Operations Management. Yes. A long one. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed. We are going to convene public hearing. 3.1, convene public hearing pursuant to ARS 15-948C and D, 15-905, 15-905.01, 15-962D, and 15-1103C for the review of the budget proposal fiscal year 2020 expenditure. I believe I need a motion to convene the public hearing.
I move that we convene the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I do apologize. Ms. Pangarelli, are you with us on the phone?
I am. Can you hear me?
Ms. Pangarelli is with us via telecommunication.
Oh.
She's in?
No, it pops up on your screen to vote
Yes.
as well.
Okay. Perfect. Yes. And then Ms. Pangarelli, she'll just chime in when we get her. Excellent. And then Ms. Myers, motion passes 4 and then 1 in the process of joining us.
Well, good evening. President Ceja Martinez, members of the Governing Board, Mrs. Pallas Thompson. I am pleased to join you again regarding the district's fiscal year 2020 proposed budget. We appreciate the opportunity to present again information that we brought to you in late June at the June 27th meeting. Tonight, I will share general background information regarding requirements for our budget process, as well as summary information related to our tax rate, and highlight cash-controlled funds and grant budgets. I would also like to once again acknowledge the work of our budget analysts, Veronica Fabella and Stephanie Checky, who were both instrumental in the preparation of the fiscal year 2020 budget. The fiscal year 2020 budget and employee compensation are part of the district's strategic plan and the 4 perspectives within the plan, but it primarily does fall within stewardship of community resources. And this perspective is defined as solidifying and adhering to effective policies, practices, and accountability for district resources. As I mentioned on June 27th, each year various internal and external factors are considered when we begin our budget process. Fixed and variable considerations include new funding from the state of Arizona that is based on student enrollment, employee and employer benefit costs, utilities, custodial service costs, as well as curriculum and student learning initiatives. An ongoing factor that we are also considering each year is the impact of Prop 206 and future minimum wage increases. Each year, school districts are required by statute to propose and adopt a budget by July 15th. A public hearing notice is required to be published related to the proposed budget, and the public hearing is convened prior to the proposed budget being adopted in the month of July. So tonight with this meeting, we are officially meeting this requirement. The annual budget development is a multi-month process that involves input from a 32-member budget team that represents various membership from district employee groups. The mix of employees this year was 16 certified, 10 classified, and 6 administrative representatives. The fiscal year 2020 budget includes the governing board approved salary compensation increases that are in alignment with the additional state funding for teacher compensation that is being received for the new year. As previously shared, on April 25th, recommendations were made to include in the budget the continuation of the Certified Teacher Function 1000 optional day to provide $399,465 for continued Prop 206 minimum wage increases and to provide $460,350 for Arizona State Retirement System increases that we must pay in the new year, which is 0.31%. The budget also includes an estimated $132,500 budget increase for our ABM custodial costs and $176,500 budget allocation for increased enrollment in special education community preschool. The fiscal year 2020 budget also includes retention stipends for returning certified and classified staff. And as well, for reference tonight, I am also including a summary of the compensation increases that were approved on April 26 by the governing board for the new year. And these compensation increases are included in the 2020 budget. I mentioned the retention stipends are also in the new budget, and the dollar amounts are included on this slide for your reference. The district's fiscal year 2020 budget also includes a 2% inflation funding increase, as well as year 2 of the 20% by 2020 governor's initiative that supports a 5% classroom teacher increase. The budget also includes year 2 of the district additional assistance restoration. Each year when we propose a budget, we do estimate the new year tax rate. The final tax rate will be set in August by the Maricopa County School Superintendent's Office and may change from our estimate. In the proposed budget, there is an estimated decrease in both the primary and the secondary tax rate compared to the last budget revision for fiscal year 2019. The main reason for the decreases are a decrease in the qualified tax rate that is set by the state and an associated 3.83% statewide property value increase, as well as an 8.7% increase in the Peoria Unified School District's net assessed valuation. The district additional assistance budget for fiscal year 2020 is $10,183,496. And I've actually gotten out of order with my slides, so I apologize for that. Let me go back. We're having difficulty advancing. As you can tell, I'm having to manually scroll, which has caused a slight hiccup, so I apologize for that. Okay, we'll try it again. In fiscal year 2020, current year funding continues to be in place. The proposed maintenance and operations budget amount is $244,070,935 based on 42,722.024 weighted students. The weighted count increases to 48,397.114 when the special education, English language learners, and Arizona attendance online add-ons are added to the total weighted student count. The maintenance and operations budget amount includes the increase to the base support level, inflation funding, and additional teacher compensation. The fiscal year 2020 M&O override amount is also included in the fiscal year 2020 budget, and it is at $27.8 million. Now with the capital amount. Our district additional assistance budget amount for fiscal year 2020 is $10,183,496. And the capital allocation portion of years 2 and 3 of the district additional assistance restoration is being paid in 1 year in fiscal year 2020. The fiscal year 2020 classroom site fund budget is $21,043,179, which reflects an increase of $11 per student. This funding is also commonly called Prop 301 funding and is restricted to certified staff for base and performance pay. The fiscal year 2020 budget also contains budget amounts for cash-controlled funds and $18.5 million for federal and state grants. The complete population of cash-controlled funds can be found on page 6 of the budget and includes $1.1 million for adjacent ways, $3 million for indirect costs, $1.2 million for results-based funding, and $1.9 million for Civic Center. On June 27th, administration recommended and the governing board did approve the fiscal year 2020 proposed budget as presented. The recommendation tonight is for the governing board to adopt the budget later in the agenda. This concludes the presentation. This agenda item is a public hearing, and the community now has the opportunity to comment prior to the budget adoption.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. I do not have any additional green public slip for comment. Governing Board, Ms. Underhill, do you have any questions or comments?
I just have one question about the district additional assistance. So, I heard that since both payments are being made this year, so next year there will not be one? Is that how that is going to work?
Actually, no, there'll also be one next year. It's a 5-year restoration that initially was going to be restored over 5 years. Okay. What they have done is in year 2, they've actually combined years 2 and 3.
Okay.
So then we'll go to year 4 the following year, and then the year after that, year 5. So really 5 years will be restored over 4 years.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Sandoval?
Nope, you've answered my questions at the prior meeting, so thank you for all the hard work. Appreciate it.
Ms. Doan?
I don't have any questions tonight. Thank you very much, Michelle.
I don't have any questions, just an anecdotal note. I appreciate the per dollar spending per student in the slide that communicates to our community where we're at. And we've seen a lot of this information. So thank you to you and your team as well.
Thank you. It is a team effort. Thank you very much.
President Sejo Martinez, can you?
Oh, and Ms. Pangarelli, thank you. We can hear you now. Excellent. So Ms. Pangarelli has joined us via the phone. And Ms. Pangarelli, do you have any questions?
Actually, no, I just wanted to thank Mr. Harmon for choosing. I'm getting a lot of feedback, so it's kind of a little difficult. I just wanted to thank Ms. Myers and her team for her work, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. So did you hear she did say she's getting feedback? Okay. All right. With that information, we are going to proceed to, I need a motion to exit to the public hearing and then proceed with the regular agenda.
I move that we adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Doan and a second by Ms. Underhill. We're going to proceed with the voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Ms. Pangarelli, excellent. I heard you. And all opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the agenda, 5.1, address agenda and consider adoption or make any recommended changes. Governing Board?
No change.
Okay. We are proceeding. Recognitions. Board recognitions. Ms. Stone?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Mr. Sandoval?
Yeah, just, we always recognize our teachers and admin and staff, and I definitely want to make sure that, just a shout out to our classified staff, who, open the schools in the morning, get our kids to get to school with transportation, and feed our students with the food and nutrition department. So I just want to make sure that they understood that they're valued.
Thank you, Mr. Sandoval. Yes, and if you start driving around, they are all on our campuses. Ms. Underhill?
I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do not as well. So, Ms. Linda Pellis-Thompson?
Well, Mrs. Sayas Martinez, I thought
You have your
were going
microphone?
to. Yes, I thought you were going to talk about Jessica McDonald.
I
Would you like
didn't-
to do that?
It doesn't matter. Okay, so we had a past student, former student from Conchina Elementary School and Cactus High School, a graduate, who recently won the World Cup and was part of a team, Jessica McDonald. Congratulations to her and her family. She has been all over social media, and what an honor. I can't explain what it feels like to be on the soccer field and the adrenaline, but I can't imagine. And we are very proud of her and all her teachers and coaches and her mentors throughout the Peoria School District to help her through her process. So thank you and congratulations, Jessica, if you're watching.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, moving on. 7.1, public comment, requests to address the governing board regarding matters not included in the agenda. As I mentioned, I don't have any additional slips. Moving on to 8.1, budget adoption, consideration of adoption of the fiscal year 2020 expenditure budget. Ms. Myers?
President Seha Martinez, members of the governing board, Superintendent Pallas-Thompson, I do not have any additional comments to add to the earlier presentation. Administration does recommend that the governing board adopt the fiscal year 2020 budget as presented.
Thank you very much. And so I don't forget, Ms. Pengarelli, can we start off with you, please?
I have nothing on this item.
Thank you. Ms. Underhill?
I don't have anything other than just a big thank you. So, thank you.
Mr. Sandoval? Thank you again. Ms. Stone?
Thanks.
And I do, thank you, and I do not have anything as well, so I will, this is a voting item. I do need a motion.
I move that we approve the adoption of the fiscal year 2020 expenditure budget.
I will second.
We have a motion by Mr. Sandoval and a second by Ms. Stone. We'll go ahead with a voice, oh wait, we have it right here. Go ahead and cast your vote, and then Ms. Pengarelli. We'll do a voice vote.
Actually, I was logged in.
Oh, you are logged in.
I voted.
Fabulous. Okay, excellent. Did it? Thank you very much. It was recorded and everybody casted their vote. It passed unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. Moving on to consent agenda. I'm going to ask everybody if they want to pull anything from the agenda. Ms. Pengarelli, I'll start with you.
I'd like to pull 9.4, donations report.
Thank you. Ms. Underhill, nothing?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Sandoval? I don't have anything this time. And Ms. Stone?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so I move to approve the consent agenda item excluding 9.4 donations report. We have a motion by myself and a second by Mr. Sandoval. You may have to let us know. It passed. Thank you. And all votes were recorded, passed unanimously. We are moving on to number 10, removed items from the consent agenda item, which is the donations report.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And so let me go ahead and pull that one up. The donations report, Ms. Pengarelli, you wanted to pull it?
Yes, I just wanted to recognize the Arizona Coyotes Hockey Development. They donated 1,500 to 30 of our schools for a total of $45,000. So I just wanted to give a shout out and to say thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Pengarelli. So just to restate that, Ms. Myers, yes.
Yes, thank you, President Ceja Martinez, members of the board. If I may add, the Coyotes actually took the initiative to contact the district to make this offer. It was not through a formal grant application, but it was through outreach. And the hockey equipment is in kind, so it was purchased equipment, not a monetary check. But they did make that donation to all of our elementary schools, and there is discussion to include our high schools in the future.
Excellent.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to send a thank you card? Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. Any more discussion, Governing Board? Okay. All right. I do need a motion to approve the donations report.
I move that we approve the donations report.
Second? Oh.
We have a motion by Ms. Doan and a second by Ms. Underhill. Thank you very much. We have voted record unanimously passed. Thank you. Moving on to 11.1, TANs, to consider, if deemed advisable, adopt a resolution as authorizing the issuance of the sale of tax anticipation notes by the district, also known as TANs. Ms. Myers.
Thank you very much. Good evening again, President Ceja Martinez, members of the board. I'll take a moment to pull up our presentation. There is the one to the left. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to present information regarding tax anticipation notes, also known as TANs, and district cash flow operations. At this time, I would like to formally acknowledge that we do have a guest in the audience, Mr. William Davis, Managing Director with Piper Jaffray and Company, the district's financial advisor for our tax anticipation note sales, has joined us this evening. Mr. Davis is available to answer technical questions regarding the documents attached to this agenda item. Tax anticipation notes, or TANs as they're commonly referred to, are securities that are similar to bonds, but with a maturity of less than 1 year. 1 year or less, I should say. They're short term. For the last several years, the district has issued TANs annually in conjunction with utilizing a $42 million credit line with the Maricopa County Treasurer to address uneven revenue payments that are incurred throughout the year. The uneven revenue streams include a very large deferred payment that occurs each year that is for the prior year and should be received by June 30th, but is always received the week after. And so as an example, last year, that dollar amount was $39 million that we received after June 30th, the first week of July. And this is an example of uneven revenue streams that we have to manage and anticipate. The reason why the Peoria District issues TANs instead of relying solely on our credit line is because the interest rate on tax anticipation notes is typically 1 to 1.5% less than the Treasurer's credit line interest rate. The tax anticipation note interest rate will be benchmarked off of the 1-year tax-exempt municipal market data interest rate and the quote-unquote all-in interest rate is currently estimated to be about 1.90%. The Maricopa County Treasurer's line of credit interest rate, when we last checked, was currently 3.15%, so basically a spread or savings of 1.25%. Over the last 5 years, the average savings related to tax anticipation notes has been over $100,000 a year. The tax anticipation notes are repaid from tax, state aid, and interest revenue that we normally receive throughout the year. It's not an additional tax collection per se. It's paid from our normal revenue once it's received. And to facilitate the repayment, the Maricopa County Treasurer transfers monies from the district's maintenance and operations account in May prior to the actual repayment taking place in July each year. In July 2018, the district issued TANs in the amount of $15 million, and at that time, we had an authorization of $43 million. Administration recommends tonight that the governing board adopt the resolution authorizing the sale of tax anticipation notes in an amount not to exceed $25 million in the month of July 2019 for fiscal year 2020. This concludes the tax anticipation note presentation. At this time, Mr. Davis and I are both available to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sandoval.
Yeah, can you run through the, I can't remember what you called it earlier, how we come up with this, I guess, inequity in the balance, I guess, of, I don't know, we'll have to go to a prior slide where you talked about how we get into the, where's it at?
The deferred revenue stream?
The uneven revenue payments. You gave a scenario as to how that happens. Can you run through that one more time, please?
I can. Throughout the year, the district does receive payments and equalization, state aid, property taxes, and they come periodically. And throughout the year, the timing is such with our set fixed costs, payroll, for example, is running and you're waiting for your payments to come in. There are timing differences with those cash flows, and the comment I made is there's a very large rollover payment that's deferred each year. All school districts are impacted by it, and the dollar amount we're projecting for this year is over $39 million, and that was the case last year as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Stone?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Ms. Underhill?
This is really like a question kind of beyond this discussion, but if that is a continually happening occurrence, and everyone's dealing with it and having to pay interest because of it, has it been addressed by the legislature or anything?
Mrs. Underhill, President Sarah Martinez, members of the board, that's a topic of discussion each year. And in fact, during the 54th legislative session, there was discussion on could that rollover payment be addressed and eliminated, and it was not this year. Hopefully it will be in the future. I will also comment that we also prepay our insurance. That's another reason why we sell the tax anticipation notes, because if you did those prepayments and you were waiting for the revenue stream to come in, you would be heavily utilizing that treasurer credit line, which has the higher interest rate.
Ms. Pingarelli?
I have no comment.
I do have one question, and you touched base on it on the credit line. We recently had an improved credit rating. Does that have any impact on the interest that we pay on the TANs?
Thank you for that question. Our credit rating increase was related to outstanding bond debt that had been issued, approximately $170 million. It was a Moody's ratings increase, so they gave us an upgrade regarding that outstanding debt. I can invite Mr. Davis up to talk a little bit more about interest rates and how districts are combined in the sale, perhaps to further answer that question.
Thank you, Michelle. Madam President, members of the board, good evening. Again, my name is Bill Davis, and it's a very good question, and it will absolutely help. Even though that credit rating was for your long-term bonds, which are secured by secondary property taxes, the fact that you did get an upgrade helps with your short-term credit as well. And so ultimately, our goal and what we've historically been able to achieve is the equivalent of a AAA rating on these tax anticipation notes. Your stronger long-term credit rating helps achieve that. And so, yes, it will help lower your overall cost. It should
Excellent.
help.
So when we make comparisons from peer-to-peer district, I see that in the presentation, there were 10 other districts participating in this program or having to utilize TANs. How do we compare to other districts in regards to that interest rate or that credit rating?
Good question, again, Madam President. The credit ratings vary, and this year it looks like there's probably going to be 8 districts participating, but you have the likes of Deer Valley, Chandler, Pendergast, Glendale Union, Buckeye Union. So it's, the long-term credit ratings vary, and what we try to do is structure these cash flows, which, as Ms. Myers mentioned, are secured by and paid for from your primary property tax revenues and your state aid. So, we'll design the cash flows individually for each district and separately, and, again, to trying to achieve that highest rating. So
Can we make a statement quantifying where we stand compared to our peers, that we are outperforming and we have the best interest rate, or are we on the lower end and we need to make some adjustments?
I think, you're, from a cash flow perspective, it's hard to measure, and it's hard to make a statement saying that we're on the upper end or we're at the lower end. Our goal with this program is that all of the participating districts will end up with the same short-term rating, which is MIG 1 from Moody's, SP 1 plus from Standard & Poor's. I think what you can say with your long-term rating, though, is, and we could help with a comparison, is to show where you stand relative to your peers, either in Maricopa County or statewide in Arizona, for your long-term debt. And I know you would show very well with that.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And
Bet.
in the future, Ms. Myers, I would love to see just a Friday report when time permits of where we do stand. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sandoval?
As you can see, Mr. Davis and Ms. Meyer, we're competitive boards. When we see other districts at, conferences, we like to, tout and then certainly talk about our highlights.
Thank you very much. Okay. I don't believe, Ms. Pingarelli, are there any more questions that were generated through that conversation?
No, I have none.
Thank you. And Governing Board, are we ready to proceed? It's an action item. I do need a motion.
Where'd we go?
I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of tax anticipation notes by the district.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Underhill and a second by Mr. Sandoval. Did it pass? Excellent, and it's showing. Perfect. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. All right, we're moving forward with 11.2, presentation and discussion of the Peoria Unified's preschool program. Thank you very much for joining us this evening again. We do appreciate your flexibility.
Good evening, President Ceja Martinez, Superintendent Thompson, members of the Governing Board. I thank you so much for allowing me this time to present our program. We're very excited about what we do, and we're excited to let you know what that is. In looking at our strategic plan, got to figure out how this thing works. In looking at our strategic plan, our main focus, of course, is student success. The earlier we can get students in and get them started in school, and it's not the academics, it's learning how to do school. It's learning how to pay attention. It's learning how to get along with your neighbors. It's learning how a classroom operates that's different than home. So teachers, kindergarten teachers can tell when our students walk into their classroom that they've been in the program already. They know how to do school. They're confident. They've got it. So I think that's our main focus is student success. But also community connectedness. For a lot of families in Peoria School District, the preschool program is their first interaction with the district. And we feel it's important for us to guide them through. A lot of times they call with concerns about their child's development, and they're scared. They know there's something wrong. They want help. They don't know where to go. And we guide them through that process. So I really feel like we really do help with that we present a good profile for the district. So there are about 2,000 days between the day a child comes into this world and the day he walks through the kindergarten classroom. During those 2,000 days, 90% of the child's brain is developed. So the brain that comes into the kindergarten classroom, well, they don't know 90% of what they're ever going to know. The wiring is in place for all future learning. So we feel like what we do is really, really important. In the early 90s, the only programs we had in the district were self-contained developmental preschool programs. Those were for students with special needs. They had an identified disability. They were in self-contained classrooms. There were no community preschool classrooms at the time. In 1995, the year after I was hired, we brought in the Early Childhood Block Grant. It was targeted for at-risk and low-income 4-year-olds. We had 2 preschool programs that we started, one at Kachina, one at Peoria Elementary. We also partnered with La Petite Academy and Head Start. There were 60 students enrolled total. But by the next year, we had families knocking on our door going, wait a minute, I'm not low income. I want to go to preschool. We went, okay. So we added tuition students. We thought, well, we might as well do this. If they want to go, we might as well offer it. So we started adding students. All of our community preschool classrooms are, including office and administration, are self-supporting through grants and parent fees. They do not get M&O funding. Moving forward, we decided that students with developmental delays didn't really need to be in a self-contained classroom 100% of the day. Just because a student couldn't say their K's and G's didn't mean they couldn't learn. So we started integrating students into community preschool classrooms. In order to do that, one of the big hurdles we had to jump through was licensing by the Arizona Department of Health Services. Licensing is not required for developmental preschool if they have fewer than 4 paying students. But we decided we wanted to do that so that our students could cross classrooms and integrate on the playground and all of those kinds of things. So we decided to go through that so that we could have fully inclusive classrooms. And we started, instead of having just classes for 3-year-olds and classes for 4-year-olds, we decided to start accommodating family schedules a little bit better. So all of our classes now are from ages 3 to 5. Day they turn 3, they can come into the preschool classroom. IDEA says that the first placement option considered for an eligible child with a disability should be the same placement option they would have if they didn't have a disability. So that's what we try to do. We look at where can the child learn in the least restrictive environment. So we are trying to include more and more students in our community preschool classrooms that do have some developmental delays. To accommodate this, we designed a program. We call them PERTs, our Preschool Itinerant Resource Teachers. We have 3 of them, and they are awesome, awesome ladies. They are assigned schools, and they have a caseload of students in community preschool. So what they do is they go into the classrooms, they provide the specially designed instruction that those preschool students need, but more importantly, they work with the staff to help teach them what accommodations are, how to make that student successful. So we work with all kinds of students in there. These students don't need to be in a self-contained classroom. They can learn. So we decided to start doing that. We also added, we call them PERTAs, so those are the assistants. And so we have 2 people assigned to each classroom that are available if a student is having difficulty of some sort or another. They're on call, they can go into the classroom, they can support the staff, and we can work through whatever kinds of issues we have. So we have our community preschool classrooms are taught by teachers certified in early childhood education. There is 1 assistant in that classroom, and there are 16 students. About 6, sometimes 7 of them have a developmental delay. The rest of them are typically developing and pay tuition. And in those classrooms. And then in our developmental preschools, the teacher is certified in early childhood special education. There are 2 assistants in there because there are more significant needs. And we try to keep those at about 8 to 10. Sometimes in May it gets a little higher than that because as they turn 3, they're ours. They're our responsibility as a district. And one of the things I'm most proud of is we had 64 students exit their IEPs this year. So we feel like that's a really important number. The other thing that I just found out, in 2017-18, according to the Department of Education, we had a 50% inclusion rate, which we were pretty proud of. We thought that was pretty good. This year it's at 67, so we're going in the right direction.
Thanks.
Peoria has several different kinds of models. I've talked about the community preschool and developmental preschool. We also have COOP programs. Those are part of the Career and Technical Education Department, and those are in the high schools. I believe all high schools except Kellis has that. And those are students, typically they're 4-year-olds, who are working with the high schoolers who are taking child development classes, and students who are learning how to become early childhood teachers. We also have the Family Resource Centers, and those are funded through First Things First, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, focused on families with children 0 to 5. They provide referrals, assistance for medical, dental, housing, clothing, childcare, counseling. They're a place for families to engage with their children through interactive play, planned activities, and events that build language, literacy, and develop essential social skills.
Can we pause right there? Sure. Excellent. So I do have a question. I did receive an email from a community member about Head Start. So we have, and you touched base on it in the past. Why is Head Start not part of an option that we provide? And then is it something that's being considered in the future?
Head Start, President Ceja Martinez, members of the board, Head Start is offered through Westside Head Start in our area. They do have some locations, I believe near Peoria Elementary. One of the things with Head Start is the qualification level for parents. So in order for a family to qualify for Head Start, they have to be at 100% of the poverty rate, the federal poverty rate, which is about $25,000 for a family of 4. That's pretty low. With our scholarships, we are able to offer those to family who qualify at 200% of the poverty rate. So we are able to offer services to more students through what we are doing.
So would you say an accurate statement is all the students that would technically qualify for the Head Start program, we could qualify them for the
Correct.
Excellent.
Correct, yes. Financially, if they qualified for Head Start, they would
I just
qualify
want
for
to
ours. Yes.
simplify that statement so that as people watch the live stream, that is that was a misconception that why don't we offer his Head Start? But thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. So we currently, as of May 19, have 1,061 preschoolers in our district. 456 typically developing students or as peer models in developmental preschool, 282 developmentally delayed in developmental preschool, and 323 developmentally delayed students in community preschool. Our preschool assessment team are awesome. Very few districts have an assessment team like we do that runs year-round. The team consists of our preschool lead. We also have psychologists. We have speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and any child, like I said, as soon as they're 3, they're ours. We own them as a district. So any referrals for a child 3 to 5 comes through the preschool assessment team. They also handle AZIP transitions, which is early intervention, move-in students that come in with an IEP, written requests, and you can see the numbers there. Last year, they had 519 referrals, 405 were evaluated, and 329 were found eligible for services. For 1920, we currently have 223 enrolled in developmental preschool. I believe that was 204 at the June 13th board meeting, so that's what's happened since then. And 200 enrolled in community preschool, and that's as opposed to 160 at the June 13th board meeting. Quality First is one of our best programs that we work with for funding. Quality First is the signature program of First Things First. First Things First was passed by a voter initiative in 2006. It puts a tax on tobacco products, and all of those products go to the Arizona Early Childhood Development and Health Board, and then they're distributed to 28 regional partnership councils. These councils are comprised of 11 volunteer members, and they each fill a very specific position. So there's a faith-based position, there's business, there's philanthropy, school administrator, child care, health care provider. Our district resides in Northwest Maricopa. This year, our region received $10.1 million to use for strategies so that children can enter kindergarten healthy and ready to learn. Quality First is the signature program of First Things First. And our Northwest Maricopa region is one of the very few regions who provide scholarships for bachelor's degrees through incentive funds, and the incentive funds help us maintain quality. A portion of those incentive funds helps us provide our early childhood mentor position. This year, we have 260 scholarships for 1920 that we are able to offer to children. It is not easy to get into Quality First. It is a lengthy process. You have to submit an application. There are waiting lists. I just found out today that Heritage has been accepted, so we will be moving forward with that. And as soon as they go through their initial assessment, as long as they come out at a 3-star, they will be able to accept scholarships. Glendale is in the pipeline, so hopefully we can get that. Northwest Maricopa region has 55,078 children under the age of 6, and of those, 14% are living in poverty. Our star ratings, if you have, you get the ratings are between 1 and 5 stars. Every other year, it's a very lengthy process. They come in and they look at your classroom and your environment and your lesson plans and how long you wash your hands and how long you're out on the playground and everything. They count books, they count blocks. It's very intense. And then they come in again and they look at the classrooms and they look at the interactions between the students and the staff. Is the staff encouraging language? Are they creating an atmosphere where children feel safe and secure? And then they come in and look at the administrative documents. So they're looking at our transition plans to kindergarten. They're looking at our retention policies, all kinds of things. And once they have all that together, then they issue star ratings. Ratings are run between 1 and 5 stars. 3 to 5 stars indicates quality. We currently have 1 3-star, 8 4-stars, and 8 5-stars. So we're pretty proud of that. So they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, so I have some pictures in there. The picture at the top there, the Sea Life, that was part of a Herberger preschool art show. They provided canvases to the staff, and then as a class, they put together artwork that hung at the Herberger. Teacher in the middle was candling eggs. They were raising chicks, and the kids were pretty excited about that. We do oral health screenings for all of our students. We bus them to central locations. Maricopa County comes in with their First Teeth First program. The 2 hygienists that are working with these children have been working with us for 24 years, first on a volunteer basis, and now they work for the county. So they come in and look at all the children. If we find decay, we make sure parents know, of course, of any results. But if it's an urgent case, the county will connect the parent with a dentist, especially for some of our special needs students that need hospitalization for dental work. We even had one that I called and I said, okay, we need a dentist who speaks Chinese. She goes Mandarin or can't remember the other one. And I was like, okay, yes, that's how we do it. Bottom picture there was Frontier Elementary, and they did a parent university, and it was on balls, and every room had different things, and they would have little cards, and okay, when you go to this activity, this is what you're going to do, and here's the questions you can ask your students. Even all the snacks were balls. They had cheese balls and melon balls and all kinds of things. It was great. Our district art show, I know you've seen our preschool art show hanging up at the district, and we are participating in the Cultural Arts Festival now. And then the last picture there is Desert Harbor went and visited one of our senior centers and interacted with them. I believe that was right around Halloween. Our family resource centers are they're awesome. They are funded through a $300,000 grant from First Things First. We currently have programs at Country Meadows, Desert Palms, and Skyview. And you can see some of the activities there that go on. It's just great to watch the families interacting with their children, and any kind of need that these families have, somebody at the resource center will help them find it. They are getting certified in DES enrollment so that any of our families can go and get enrolled in DES. They just have to make an appointment with them, and they'll be able to enroll in that. They do oral health screening for some of our littles. There's some more pictures there. They are partnering with the Glendale Library with the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. So they will be there second Tuesday and Thursday starting in September, and they will give the children a free book for every 200 that are read. They are also partnering with the Peoria Library and will be there for their story hours and things like that. These are the preschool programs that we will have in 1920. A lot. And our newest adventure is Glendale Community College. Back in August, maybe, I don't know, Glendale Community College reached out to us and said, hey, Head Start was in there running their thing, and they could not make a go of it. They could not get enough students. Were we interested in running it? So working with Superintendent Thompson and Mr. Savoy and Ms. Myers and a whole lot of people, we were able to get this partnership going. We have the intergovernmental agreement now, and so we are enrolling students. Like I said, right now they are not enrolled in Quality First, but they will accept DES, and we're working on this as quickly as we can. I also have Megan Molina here, who is our lead teacher over at Glendale Community College, getting ready to go through licensing for that. Here's our toddler room. We are going to be having toddlers, which I have been trying to do for a very long time. I'm very excited about it. It will only be 8 to start, which is what the capacity of the room really is. But as you can see, Head Start kind of took everything that was in there. I found out last week or the week before that we had got a $13,000 grant from ADE for furniture. And then Glendale Community College has gotten has a $10,000 worth of Perkins funds that they are putting in there. Glendale is also writing a grant that is in the process of being evaluated to renovate the playground, and they are in the process of renovating that now. This is the preschool room. The windows that you see on the end there look into a classroom. So the students at Glendale Community College are able to, and they've got microphones in there and cameras, they're able to look into the classroom to see what's going on in there. Interns will be going into the classrooms to work with the students there under Megan's direction. So we're excited about being able to grow our own. And this is the outdoor area that is in the process of being renovated. There's a lot of storage there. There's a bike path. I believe the grant that Glendale applied for through the Burton Family Foundation is about $92,000. So we're hopeful to get that soon and get that going. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, well, thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and start with Ms. Underhill.
Well, great job. I mean, it's super exciting, everything that you guys are doing, and it's so much work. So it sounds like almost all of our centers are Quality First, except for
Glendale, and I'm keep my fingers crossed.
I mean, that's amazing, because that's a huge undertaking.
It's a lot of work, especially when they're all in the same assessment year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah. The question I only had was just about outreach. So obviously you do outreach through our schools. What other kinds of outreach do you all do?
There are different websites, childcare resource and referral, were listed on there. Honestly, I think word of mouth is probably the best thing. We don't typically have empty classrooms. We pretty much have waiting lists everywhere right now.
That's awesome. And I mean, as far as the classrooms and that kind of thing, are we meeting the need, or is there always room for expansion? Is it because of, I mean, I know we have some space in other areas, so.
Ms. Underhill, members of the board, the problem, of course, is that there's no space where the children are. So we're pretty tight up north, as we all know, which is where our children are. We do have 3 classrooms at Vistancia and 3 at Lake Pleasant. We did have 3 at Park Ridge. We lost one of those because it was needed. We do have 5 at Frontier, so we're trying to hang on to all of those. Certainly, if we could get more space up north, we could
Great.
fill that pretty easily.
Sure. And then just the last thing, can you just talk a little bit about how, the preschool being within the school, how that kind of coincides with those children and those families, and even from preschool to kindergarten and beyond, how that kind of translates into our district model. So just how that works as far as the school wrapping around the preschool as their own kind of thing.
Sure. I think probably at every campus, our preschoolers are included as part of the group. I know at Glendale Community College, they're already talking about them in the homecoming parade, so I'm sure they'll be included there as well. They're just part of the student population. They go to assemblies, they eat lunch at the school. We have breakfast at the school, snack. Our food and nutrition department is awesome. They provide the snack. They cut it up, bring it to the room on their little carts. I think one of the things that we find is, I know, for example, at Pioneer, we came in with a program, and then they had so many kindergartners that wanted to be there on a variance because of the preschool program that we ended up getting moved to another room because they needed a second room for kindergarten. So I think that happens a lot too. Families go to a preschool program and they're very happy with the school and they decide to stay. Our families are part of the school, and I just think it's a good way to get the families into the district, and if they're happy, I think they're going to stay.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Just having been at, Frontier, just those little guys, they add so much to your school. And I also think it's neat because I know the teachers all get to know each other, and that articulation happens between the pre-K and the kindergarten. So
Sure, and I think the other thing that's important is, when they start kindergarten, if there are some struggles with those kids, the first thing they do is call the preschool teacher and go, hey, what do you know about this child? How can I do this? And we had one of our little guys that the teacher said, let him take his backpack on the playground and it's going to save you. I mean, those are things that you don't know as a kindergarten teacher. So that was a good way to get him to transition into kindergarten. They know the school, they know where the cafeteria is, they know where the bathrooms are, they know how to do all those things. So they can get into kindergarten, sit down and learn.
okay, last thing, sorry. As far as, I know you said you did a parent university at one of the schools. Do you try to kind of integrate some parent education throughout the year, or how does that work?
Absolutely. The resource centers are one of our best ways to do that. That was at Frontier. That was Lori Little that instituted that. But they do a lot of experiences. One of our teachers, for example, after school one day, she just told the families, bring the favorite ball you played with as a child to the park. And so all the families met at the park with the balls, and they just played with them. And I think it's nice, when they can put down the phones and the electronics and stuff and get out and do some of those kinds of things instead.
Well, thank you again very much, and all of your staff, all that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Pingarelli?
I have no questions this evening, but I just wanted to thank Ms. Hibskink for the presentation.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
Yes, thank you very much. And just great job on building such a robust team of resources in addition to the academic and educational benefit of this program. When we talk about being unified, we are truly unified from cradle to career without question. So I think I know what the answer to my question is going to be, because I believe it's going to be in line with what Ms. Underhill asked. But we have almost half of our schools, grade schools, elementary schools, have a preschool program, right? It might be just a little above half. And we have 3 family resource centers. You know, can you talk a little bit about, I mean, it's growing, the program's growing, and, you know, obviously we need to take a look at capacity and what we can do to, you know, stay up with that growth, if you will, as a district. But from the Family Resource Center regard, how can we help? What are some things that we can take a look at? Because it looks like those resource centers are kind of centrally, maybe central, southern located. You know, what are some of the things that, how can we be innovative to establish some resource centers up here?
Yeah, good question, Mr. Sandoval. I think it's hard. I mean, $100,000 sounds like a lot of money, but it really isn't to operate 3 full-time programs. I think when we began those, we were looking at probably the zip codes of greatest need.
Sure.
And so that was concentrated in the southern area. Students can attend from anywhere. Parents can come from anywhere to the resource center. And when they do like a science center thing, we do get families from all over the place. I think one of the things that Jessica Harris, who's our coordinator, is trying to do, she's going to be meeting with the nurses, she's going to be meeting with the secretaries and the administrators, food service, so that we can get the word out, so that if somebody comes into the school and says, hey, my electricity got shut off, what do I do? They know where to send them. And even though their focus is 0 to 5, we're not going to turn away, you know, families that are in need.
Sure.
So, and again, it's a space issue, it's a capacity issue. How many people do you need to run the things? The funding recently increased. This year it's $300,000. Last year it was $200,000, but that's because they've done such an awesome job that First Things First recognized that and gave them the additional funds for additional people.
Gotcha. Now, when you engage with the parents, you know, have you been confronted with any opportunities or challenges that they may have from a transportation regard to get to like a resource center? And if so, you know, do we have solutions for those parents who may not be able to, don't have a vehicle?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find out. I think that's part of the reason we tried to keep them in the zip codes that we did, because we felt like those families didn't have transportation, and so perhaps that was a good place to keep the resource centers.
Gotcha. Okay. And just FYI, I know the city of Peoria, they just had a ribbon cutting at their new community center. With they integrated some resources down. I think JAG is part of Southwest Behavioral Health.
Yep.
I'm not sure who the other organizations are, but I mean, it could be a potential, you know, partnership, you know, with the community center if they have capacity to even, you know, establish another family resource center there.
The family resource centers have a network of all the resource centers in Maricopa County, and they meet on a regular basis. And families don't know where the boundary of one region stops and the next region starts. So everybody tries to work together to get the families what they need.
Yeah. Now, can you talk a little bit about, you know, just success, you know, metrics with this program? Meaning, you know, as you, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, and I know sometimes it's hard to follow a student from preschool all the way through.
Yeah.
You know, high school and then college. But, I mean, do you have any reference or success stories that you can speak to that talk about individuals that entered our district through the preschool program and became self-actualized, you know, as they went on through their educational career?
Oh, gosh, I could probably give you a lot of those. I think, you know, the fact that we are exiting students off of their IEPs, it is a big success story for us. I think part of it, though, too, is the staff members that are getting an education through First Things First. The folks who are in the COOP programs with CTE are now my employees. They come out of the COOP program. It's like, okay, you know what you're talking about. You've got some background here. So we have, I just hired 2 2019 graduates who will be starting at Frontier. So we are trying to, I don't know that you can quantitatively have those numbers. What I could talk about is my grandson, who is now going into 3rd grade. Levi has autism. He was in our Frontier preschool program. He is an awesome, independent child, and I don't think he ever would have been that way without all of the resources and support and everything that was given to him. he's in a regular classroom and doing great, and I don't know that he would have been there. So for me personally, I know it works.
Well, and I'm sure there are a lot of stories out there
Sure.
without question. You know, when you at the beginning you talked about those, I'm going to call them soft skills, or those maybe benefits outside of the academics, and acclimating into the environment with others and into a world outside of their home, you know, for roughly approximately a third of the day for the next, 12 plus years, right? So I appreciate, what you and your team do with regard to, our youth, and again, just, putting them in a position to be successful throughout their educational paths here with MPUSD. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Stone?
Wow. I know how it is when you work with the little ones. You fall in love with them all the time. And it must be, it's gladdening but saddening to see them go. I cannot believe the amount of work that you guys do. I've got a granddaughter that's going to be 4 in September, and she's killing me. So I think about, and all the paperwork. To me, that's the bane of all this stuff. It's like the paperwork just kills you. I mean, the kids are a lot of work, but they're very rewarding. And
Make us laugh every single day.
I know, they make life worth living,
Yeah.
right? It's just, that's the good part.
Yeah.
And it can be hard, but it is so rewarding. And I just think that the paperwork, man, I wish we could just wave a magic wand over that
So
stuff.
do I.
Yes,
It's a lot.
it is. And I appreciate it. And I say all the time when I'm doing my paperwork, I hate my paperwork, right? And I have a lot of it because I have a handicapped daughter and I have my granddaughter and it's like, I have a large appreciation for the amount of work that goes into all this. So, I think I'm sitting up here listening to you talk and imagining in my head how much a lot of the little ones must just love coming and having that time. I remember, when mine were young, and they would just not even look at me when they got on the bus or whatever, it's like, I'm gone now. And then you have those that you have to coax because they're afraid, don't know how. And I've had experience with that too. And I think when you said that we're teaching them how to be at school, that really hit a chord with me, because that's it's like when my son was in kindergarten, he didn't know how to behave. It was like, and I'm not going to discuss him because he might get upset with me, but it's hard. It's a hard adjustment for some kids. It really is, for being out and I did put him in preschool because he was trying to copy his sister's speech patterns, and she's handicapped. So I put him in, and that helped. And that was many, many years ago. But I have been to some of the classes, some of the preschools, and seen what's going on in there, and watched some of the trainees. What was that program? The Cooks or Coos or Coop? See, my brain's going. But yeah, I did see one of those classrooms, and that was exciting for me to watch the young people work with the younger people. And I don't know what all can be said about this. Just I had my Amy in preschool from the time she was 3. They helped me potty train her. And stuff. And I was just like, because she has the Down syndrome and other things. But the work that you guys do, and it's foundational. And I am in awe of this whole operation.
Thank you.
Just,
I have an amazing group of people that
it's got to be.
do this, the work, the hard work. every day. The paperwork isn't fun, but
Yeah.
they're doing the hard work.
Yeah.
And they're sending those children into kindergarten ready.
Yeah, and so I just want to say, God bless you all, and give you strength, and
Thank you.
I appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to share my gratitude. I had the opportunity and privilege to go through the process. My oldest son went through the assessment process. He did not qualify for special ed, but one thing that we did do is put him in the program, and it was great to say, even though he didn't qualify, he still had needs that need to be addressed, like wearing a weighted vest and looking at the sensory. And so being in that environment, just because he didn't qualify under one area, they were still able to meet his needs. And I know that if that happened with him, you're meeting all our children's needs,
Right.
whether
We try.
they qualify or not. So you're looking at the child's individual's best interest. So thank you for that. I know you have a lot of clout in our early childhood education. I want to say thank you. Let us know how we can help you and your team so we can continue to grow your program and anything you need. I always say ask, you never know.
Right?
One big aha moment that I heard you present was that you're self-funded. That is a huge accomplishment. Grants and fees, and to my colleague's point, all the fine line and the paperwork. So the one question, I have two questions, but one pertaining to, and you mentioned teacher retention. How can we as a district support you in retaining teachers? And do you see an impact to the funding sources that we have to support you because you're self-funded, or is there no connection?
Good question, President Sejar Martinez. I do want to clarify that the special education students are funded through special education. I just want to make sure that's clear. Teacher retention is complicated. Preschool is a lot of work, as you've mentioned. We have our assessment system, Teaching Strategies Gold, which is pretty labor intensive. We have this every other year. We call it kind of aims for preschool. It's they come in, they look, they're out, and you got to hit the number to keep the scholarships, which keeps funding the teachers. So it's a lot of stress on teachers. And I don't know how to really fix that. I mean, every year I struggle to look for special education teachers because they have to be dually certified, early childhood and special ed, and that's an ongoing struggle. I don't know that that's ever going to go away. I just don't think the universities are producing enough candidates. I don't know how to fix that, but I'll figure it out. We'll get there. But I think it's just knowing that we're recognized and recognizing that we are a pre-K-12 district. We are not a K-12 district. That would go a long way.
Excellent. That is great to hear, and that we can continue to communicate that we're pre-K. That is news to me as well, because I always say K-12. So I will continue to work on that. When you brought the community college program, I was excited to bring you guys back. Part of that, I have a question in regards to our high school students that may have children. How and can they benefit or participate in any one of these preschools? Is it fairly easy? Do they know?
I don't know that they know that. It's not super cheap. I mean, as we know, preschool, early childhood is expensive. Our programs are typically 3 hours. So most of the programs are 3 hours, either morning or afternoon, Tuesday through Friday. For a working or a going to school parent, that is a little bit harder. But by offering full-day programs, we cut down the number of students we can help. So that's why we try to concentrate on the part day. So I don't know that necessarily would work for someone who needed full-time. We do have a few programs. Our toddler program will be full-time, and our Glendale preschoolers will be full-time as well. And Frontier does offer some full-time programming.
Okay. And just one last question. As a governing board, as a district, what barrier or what obstacle do you face that we could focus on moving into the next calendar school year? Or as we review our strategic plan, what should we be looking at to help your program progress?
President Seher Martinez, members of the board, I think one of the biggest things you can do is when you're looking at school space, remember that we're there. We can't put 35 children in a classroom. So when you're looking at classroom usage, and it's really hard. As you know, we just moved our Murphy program to Oasis. We had just paid the license fee of $2,000 last year. We don't get any refund on that. So just having an understanding of you can't just move a program from room 2 to room 3 without going through paperwork with licensing, or moving it, we're gonna close it off of this campus and move it to this campus. Well, it's complicated and it's expensive. So if it could be known that these students are part of our district, they're part of our students, and to keep it as stable as we possibly can would be really helpful for us.
Thank you for that insight. And Ms. Pellis-Thompson, as we continue to grow and may have to make these challenging decisions, where do we find, when we start to make those decisions, where do we find preschool at that priority list on making those types of adjustments?
Mrs. Seher Martinez, first of all, Dr. Pischke always sets that as a priority, and we look at that. And then we have students moving in, and it does disrupt. I was supervising Debbie, if there is a possibility to supervise Debbie, and for several years, and I've had that privilege and honor to do that. We've always argued that as something that we really need to look at. It should be a priority, definitely in our facilities. So it's a really good point. It's amazing. Let me just, before we do it, I have to say that the program is a Dr. Pischke deal, okay? There's no question in my mind. She is as gifted as anybody. She has the strongest leadership. She's extraordinary, knowledgeable, passionate, difficult, and in the best sense, self-funding. I've had the privilege of watching her argue with the price of bananas that she'll say to somebody, well, wait a minute, these are 49 cents, we got charged 52 cents. She watches every penny that comes in and out of the program. She is absolutely state and nationally renowned. So I know we include everybody when we say, hey, this is an amazing program, and then our people are awesome people. But Dr. Pischke is in a total class of herself. So
Thank you.
And I appreciate you. And you'll never hear me say that again, Deb.
Probably not. I
Now
never
it's-
have.
It's recorded, so you can just replay it. And
The
just replay
difficult
it.
part I've heard,
Why do we write?
that I've heard.
Been with us.
25 years. Just
So-
finished 25 years.
And not that I want to see you leave, but we're always looking at sustainability. What is your succession plan?
I don't have one. I don't have one. We did manage to get the early childhood mentor position through, so that helps. It's a lot of students for one administrator. I'll be real honest. That's a lot of students. You wouldn't have a school with that many students and one principal.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
So my ask would be to challenge as you look in the future, who is going to fill your shoes or buy new shoes?
Buy new shoes, yeah.
Yes. Multiple
Multiple
pairs.
pairs of shoes.
So that we can continue your legacy, because this is what it is, and we're so grateful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think she's right there.
Pairs of shoes. Thank you.
Excellent.
So Dr. Pischke, real quick, and I think from an overall branding regard, Dr. Pellis-Thompson and Ms. Airy, knowing that we are a pre-K through 12, maybe it's something that we need to take a look at from a branding perspective. And I think, that will become innate, across all verticals throughout the district, and even as we get into planning sessions and ensuring that you and team are integrated into all of our discussions around how we plan for the district over the next 5 to 10 years.
I know as a preschool team, we would really appreciate it because they often hear K-12, K-12, K-12. And it's like, wait a minute, we're here.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. At this time, Ms. Pangarelli, did you want to chime in to any other discussion to that topic? Okay, I don't believe so. So we are moving on to 12 informational reports. 12.1, budget, facilities, planning, and construction and report. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. All items are viewable online. 12.2, district budget report for the month of May of 2019. 12.3, district enrollment report for the month of May 2019. 12.4, report on upcoming meetings and events. Ms. Danielle Airy.
Good evening, President Ceja Martinez, members of the board. Just one note for all of our governing board members that you'll see up there, and I'll be sure to follow up with you via email as well. But we are preparing for our opening of schools event. It will be fairly similar to what we did last year. And a thank you to CCV for hosting us once again and allowing us to bring together all 3,500 of our staff members under one roof. We have an exciting keynote speaker that we will be unveiling soon to all staff. We hope all of our governing board members will be able to join us for this exciting event again this year. So that's on August 5th, 9 a.m. Mark your calendar.
Excellent.
And Ms. Airy, do we have a meeting place for the retreat?
Thank you, Mrs. Pallas-Thompson. We did actually just secure a location for your upcoming governing board retreat. We will be at the Peoria Community Center. So, Mr. Sandoval, I heard you reference their new Community Resource Center, and we have a brief tour of that planned for you all as well. So that's quite timely. You'll have an opportunity to see that and the resources that the city of Peoria is providing. We are also in discussions with them on making sure our whole district community is aware of those resources, but did want to note that. We look forward to being there, and we thank the city for hosting us at that location.
Thank you very much. And we're probably estimated 9:30 time start.
That'd be great.
Okay. 9:30, August 17th is the board retreat. Mark your calendars. And school starts, don't forget, school starts soon.
Soon.
Okay. Other business, 13.1, board opportunity to readdress agenda items. Ms. Pengarelli? I don't think she's with us.
No.
Oh, very good. Excellent. Ms. Underhill? Mr. Sandoval? Ms. Stone? Okay. 13.2, draft agenda. 13.3, request for agenda items for future governing board meetings. Ms. Pengarelli?
Yes, I would like a new organizational chart with names and a new phone listing.
I'll second that. Anything else?
No?
Perfect. Ms. Underhill? No. Mr. Sandoval?
Yeah, I do have one request, and it can be in the Friday report. Can we get a listing of all employees who are not compensated over the governing board approved recesses? Like spring break, winter break, fall break.
I second that. Anything else, Mr. Sandoval? Okay. Ms. Stone? And I do not have anything as well. Number 14, Dr. Reynolds, we did this just for you. I move to adjourn the meeting at 7:26. And we have a second by Ms. Stone. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Aye.
Ms. Pengarelli unanimously voted aye. Motion passes 7:26. That's your welcoming gift.